The unexpected inheritance. Jake Carter wiped the sweat from his brow as he maneuvered his beat-up freighter through the asteroid field. The ship, affectionately named Rusty Bucket, groaned in protest as it dodged another massive space rock. Jake had been a lone wolf in the vastness of space for so long that the creaks and moans of his vessel were more comforting than concerning. "Easy there, old girl," Jake muttered, patting the control panel. "Just a few more clicks, and we're home free." As if on cue, a shrill alarm pierced the quiet hum of the cockpit. Jake's eyes darted to the flashing red light on his console. A distress signal. Out here in the middle of nowhere? Curiosity piqued, Jake adjusted his course. He'd always been a sucker for a mystery, and besides, it was the right thing to do. Who knew how long it had been since another ship passed through this god-forsaken sector? As Jake approached the source of the signal, his jaw dropped. Before him floated a massive ship, easily 10 times the size of his humble freighter. Its sleek, organic design screamed of advanced alien technology. "Well, I'll be damned," Jake whispered, his eyes wide with wonder. A tractor beam suddenly engulfed the Rusty Bucket, pulling it inexorably towards the alien vessel. Jake's hands flew over the controls, but it was no use. Whatever tech these aliens had, it far surpassed his own. With a gentle thud, Jake's ship settled in what appeared to be a cavernous docking bay. The freighter captain took a deep breath, checked the charge on his trusty blaster, and stepped out to face whatever awaited him. The interior of the alien ship was a marvel of bioluminescent technology. Pulsing lights guided Jake through winding corridors until he found himself in what could only be described as a throne room. And there, upon a dais, lay a being unlike any Jake had ever encountered. The alien was massive, easily twice Jake's height, with iridescent scales and multiple limbs. But what struck Jake most were its eyes, pools of swirling silver that seemed to hold the wisdom of ages. "Approach, human," the alien's voice boomed, though its mouth didn't move. Telepathy, Jake realized with a start. As Jake drew closer, he could see the alien was in clear distress. Its breathing was labored, and a strange, glowing fluid seeped from several wounds. "You have answered my call," the alien continued. "I am Zorax, regent of the celestial Concordat, and I am dying." Jake's mind reeled. He'd heard whispers of the celestial Concordat, a vast trading empire that spanned multiple galaxies. But he'd always assumed they were just stories told in seedy spaceports after one too many Aldebaran whiskies. "I'm sorry," Jake said, unsure of the proper protocol when addressing a dying alien regent. "Is there anything I can do?" Zorax's silver eyes fixed on Jake, seeming to peer into his very soul. "Yes, human, you can. Accept my gift." Before Jake could ask what he meant, Zorax continued. "My time is ending, but my legacy must endure. You, Jake Carter, have been chosen." Jake's eyebrows shot up. "Chosen? For what?" "To inherit everything," Zorax replied. "My vast trading empire, my fleet of ships, my resources and connections across the galaxies." Jake's head spun. This couldn't be happening. It had to be some sort of elaborate prank or a vivid hallucination brought on by too much recycled air. "But why me?" he managed to stammer. "The cosmos works in mysterious ways," Zorax said, a hint of amusement in his telepathic voice. "You were the one who answered the call, and now you must also accept the greatest responsibility." With tremendous effort, Zorax lifted one of his limbs, pointing to a shadowed alcove. "My wives are yours now, human." Jake's jaw dropped as two figures emerged from the darkness. They were undoubtedly female, but decidedly alien. Tall and graceful, with skin that shimmered like the surface of a soap bubble. Their eyes, like Zorax's, were pools of swirling silver. "This is Lyra." Zorax indicated the taller of the two, her head adorned with what looked like living crystal formations. "And Celeste," he nodded towards the other, whose skin seemed to ripple with patterns that mimicked the star-filled space outside. Jake's mind raced. Wives? As in plural? As in he was supposed to marry these alien women he'd just met. "Now wait just a minute," Jake began, but Zorax cut him off. "There is no time," the dying alien regent insisted. "You must accept. The fate of countless worlds depends on it." Jake looked from Zorax to the alien women, who regarded him with unreadable expressions. This was insanity. He was just a simple space trucker, for crying out loud. He couldn't run a vast trading empire or be responsible for the fate of entire worlds. But as he looked into Zorax's fading silver eyes, Jake felt something stir within him. A sense of duty, of destiny. Maybe this was why he'd always felt so restless, so unfulfilled, hauling cargo from one backwater planet to another. Maybe this was his chance to make a real difference in the universe. Taking a deep breath, Jake squared his shoulders and nodded. "All right," he said, his voice steadier than he felt. "I accept." A look of profound relief washed over Zorax's alien features. "Then it is done," he said, his telepathic voice growing weaker. "The celestial concordat is yours. Rule wisely. Jake Carter of Earth." With those final words, the light faded from Zorax's silver eyes. The great alien regent breathed his last, leaving Jake standing in stunned silence. Lyra and Celeste moved to flank Jake, their alien features inscrutable. "What are your orders, husband?" Lyra asked, her voice like chiming crystals. Jake ran a hand through his hair, still struggling to process everything that had just happened. He was now the leader of a vast alien trading empire, married to 2 alien women, and responsible for who knows how many lives across the galaxies. "Well," he said, a wry smile tugging at his lips, "I don't suppose either of you knows how to fly this thing." As if in response, the massive ship hummed to life around them. Displays flickered to life, showing star charts and trade routes Jake could scarcely comprehend. "Looks like we're in for one hell of a ride," Jake muttered. Little did he know just how true those words would prove to be. The adventure of a lifetime was just beginning, and the universe would never be the same. Cosmic curveballs and chocolate diplomacy. Jake Carter, newly minted leader of the Celestial Concordat, stood on the bridge of his inherited flagship, the Star Waver, feeling like a fish out of water. The sleek, organic control panels pulsed with bioluminescent light, each touch triggering cascades of information he could barely comprehend. "Husband," Lyra's crystalline voice chimed, "the Zorgax delegation awaits your decision on the dilithium trade agreement." Jake suppressed a groan. It had been 2 Earth weeks since he'd unexpectedly inherited this vast trading empire, and he was still struggling to keep up with the complexities of intergalactic commerce. "Right," he muttered, adjusting the collar of his ornate alien robes. Another inheritance he was still getting used to. "And remind me, what exactly is our stance on dilithium again?" Celeste, her skin rippling with star-like patterns, stepped forward. "We seek to maintain our monopoly, of course. The Zorgax proposal would undercut our profits by 37.2%. Jake nodded, trying to look confident. In reality, his mind was racing. Back on Earth, the most complex trade he'd ever managed was bartering for spare parts in shady spaceports. Now, he was negotiating deals that could affect entire star systems. "All right," he said, an idea forming. "Let's offer them something they can't refuse, something uniquely human." Lyra and Celeste exchanged confused glances. "What do you propose, husband?" Lyra asked. Jake grinned, reaching into his pocket and pulling out a slightly squashed chocolate bar, one of the few Earth comforts he'd brought aboard the Rusty Bucket. "Ladies," he announced, "let me introduce you to the concept of chocolate diplomacy." The Zorgax delegation, a group of reptilian aliens with iridescent scales and multiple eyes, shifted uncomfortably in their seats. They'd been prepared for hard-nosed negotiations, threats, maybe even some light violence. What they hadn't expected was the strange brown substance the new human leader of the Celestial Concordat was offering them. "I assure you," Jake said, breaking off pieces of the chocolate bar, "this is one of Earth's most prized commodities. A delicacy so beloved, wars have been fought over it." The lead Zorgax, a particularly grumpy-looking fellow named Zixthor, eyed the chocolate suspiciously. "And how does this chocolate relate to our dilithium proposal?" Jake leaned back, channeling every ounce of space cowboy swagger he could muster. "Simple. You agree to our original terms on the dilithium trade, and I'll throw in exclusive rights to distribute chocolate throughout your sector." The Zorgax delegates conferred in hushed, sibilant whispers. Finally, Zixthor reached out with a clawed hand and popped a piece of chocolate into his mouth. The reaction was instantaneous. Zixthor's multiple eyes widened, his scales flushing a brilliant orange. "By the cosmic egg," he exclaimed, "this is incredible." Within minutes, the entire Zorgax delegation was clamoring for more. Jake watched in amazement as hardened alien negotiators turned into giddy chocoholics before his eyes. "Do we have a deal?" Jake asked, fighting to keep a straight face. Zixthor nodded enthusiastically, his earlier grumpiness forgotten. "Yes, yes. We agree to your terms, but we must have more of this chocolate." As the Zorgax filed out, already making plans for chocolate fountains and cocoa plantations, Lyra and Celeste approached Jake, their alien features a mix of confusion and admiration. "Husband," Lyra said, her crystal adornments tinkling softly, "that was most unexpected." Celeste nodded, starry patterns swirling across her skin. "Indeed, you've introduced a new variable into the cosmic equation." Jake chuckled, popping the last piece of chocolate into his mouth. "Ladies, I think we've just stumbled onto the next big thing in intergalactic trade." Word spread quickly through the stars. Soon, alien races from across the galaxies were clamoring for a taste of Earth's sweetest export. Jake found himself at the center of a chocolate revolution, negotiating deals and forging alliances with species he'd never even heard of before. But with great success came great challenges. Rival trading factions, once content to ignore the Celestial Concordat, now saw them as a threat. Pirates and smugglers sought to cash in on the chocolate craze, and more than a few alien biology experts warned of potential unforeseen consequences of introducing cocoa to extraterrestrial digestive systems. Through it all, Jake relied on his human ingenuity and the support of his alien wives. Lyra's analytical mind and Celeste's intuitive understanding of cosmic patterns proved invaluable as they navigated the choppy waters of their new chocolate-fueled empire. One evening, as they stood on the Star Weaver's observation deck, watching a binary star system paint the cosmos in hues of purple and gold, Jake felt a sense of belonging he'd never experienced before. "You know," he said, turning to Lyra and Celeste, "when I first inherited all this, I thought it was some cosmic joke. But now I can't imagine any other life." Lyra's crystal adornments chimed softly as she placed a hand on Jake's shoulder. "You have brought a new flavor to the universe, husband, both literally and figuratively." Celeste nodded, her skin mimicking the starscape before them. "The cosmic dance has found a new rhythm, thanks to you." Jake grinned, pulling both his alien wives close. "Well then, ladies, what do you say we keep this dance going? I've got a feeling the universe ain't seen nothing yet." As the Star Weaver cruised into the cosmic unknown, Jake Carter, former space trucker turned chocolate baron and leader of the Celestial Concordat, felt a thrill of excitement. The stars stretched out before them, full of promise and adventure. And with a little human ingenuity and a whole lot of chocolate, he was ready to take on whatever the cosmos threw their way. Little did they know, the greatest challenges and sweetest triumphs were yet to come: Galactic Ganesh and the Cocoa Conundrum. The Star Weaver glided through the iridescent nebula, its hull gleaming with the reflected light of 1,000 newborn stars. Inside, Jake Carter paced the bridge, his brow furrowed in concentration. The past few months had seen the celestial concordat's influence expand exponentially, riding the wave of the intergalactic chocolate craze. But with great power came great headaches. Husband, Lyra's crystalline voice chimed, interrupting Jake's thoughts. We've received an urgent transmission from the nebula nomads of the Andromeda Arm. Jake sighed, running a hand through his disheveled hair. Let me guess, another chocolate-related crisis. Celeste stepped forward, her skin rippling with constellations. Indeed, it seems their entire fleet has, well, become stuck. Stuck? Jake raised an eyebrow. What do you mean stuck? Lyra brought up a holographic display showing a massive aggregation of ships floating aimlessly in space. The nomads discovered that melting our chocolate in zero gravity creates a unique substance. They've used it to bond their ships together into one giant, interconnected fleet. Jake's jaw dropped. They turned our chocolate into space glue. That's actually pretty impressive. Celeste's starry skin pulsed with concern. The problem is, they can't separate their ships now, and they're drifting dangerously close to a black hole. Jake pinched the bridge of his nose. Just another day in the life of a chocolate baron turned galactic leader. All right, set a course for the Andromeda Arm. Looks like we've got some unsticking to do. As the Starweaver prepared for the journey, Jake couldn't help but marvel at the bizarre situations his new trade empire kept landing him in. Who would have thought that introducing the cosmos to Coco would lead to such chaotic creativity? The sight that greeted them upon arrival in Andromeda was both awe-inspiring and absurd. Thousands of alien ships, from tiny personal crafts to massive freighters, were fused together in a giant, chocolate-bonded blob. The conglomeration sparkled in the starlight, looking like some cosmic confection gone terribly wrong. By the rings of Saturn, Jake muttered, that's one heck of a space some more. Lyra's crystals chimed in amusement, an apt Earth analogy, husband, though I believe the situation calls for a more scientific approach. Jake nodded, his mind already racing with potential solutions. All right, let's think this through. We need something that can dissolve the chocolate bonds without damaging the ships. Celeste's skin rippled with an idea. What about the methane lakes of Titan? The low temperature and unique chemical composition might provide the solvent we need. Jake grinned, planting a kiss on Celeste's shimmering cheek. Brilliant. But how do we transport enough methane to unstick an entire fleet? For a moment, the bridge was silent. Then, Jake's eyes lit up with that particular gleam that his wives had come to recognize as the precursor to either genius or madness. Ladies, he announced, I think it's time we introduce the galaxy to the concept of a root beer float. What followed was perhaps the strangest rescue operation in cosmic history. The Starweaver, along with a hastily assembled fleet of tanker ships, made a pit stop at Saturn's moon Titan. There, they filled their holds with liquefied methane, chilled to hundreds of degrees below zero. Next came the tricky part. Using modified terraforming equipment, they began to spray the frozen methane onto the chocolate-bonded fleet. But instead of simply dissolving the bonds, something unexpected happened. The combination of ultra-cold methane and cocoa created a fizzing, bubbling reaction. The entire megastructure began to foam and expand, looking for all the world like an impossibly large root beer float. Is it supposed to do that? Jake asked, watching the spectacle from the Starweaver's observation deck. Lyra's crystals chimed in confusion. This reaction is unprecedented. The cosmic variables at play are. She was cut off as the foamy structure suddenly began to contract. With a series of pops and cracks, the chocolate bonds dissolved, and thousands of alien ships burst free from their sugary prison. Cheers and messages of gratitude flooded the comms as the nebula nomads celebrated their liberation. But Jake's attention was fixed on something else, the leftover foam, which was coalescing into shimmering, iridescent spheres. Well, Jake murmured, reaching out to scoop one of the floating orbs. Ladies, I think we just invented space candy. News of the Andromeda incident spread faster than a supernova. Soon, the celestial concordat was flooded with orders not just for chocolate, but for the newly dubbed cosmic fizz, a treat that could only be produced in the unique conditions of deep space. Jake found himself at the helm of not just a trading empire, but a full-fledged confectionery revolution. Alien scientists and chefs flocked to join their ranks, eager to experiment with the seemingly magical properties of Earth's cocoa beans. But with sweet success came bitter rivals. The Galactic Gourmand Guild, long-standing purveyors of luxury consumables across the cosmos, saw the Concordats rise as a threat to their dominion. Rumors of sabotage and corporate espionage began to swirl through the starways. One evening, as Jake and his wives enjoyed a rare moment of peace in the Starweaver's arboretum, Lyra brought up the growing tension. "Husband," she said, her crystal adornments tinkling softly, "the Guild's actions are becoming more aggressive. We've received reports of chocolate shipments going missing, trade routes being disrupted." Celeste nodded, her skin mirroring the concerned furrow of Jake's brow. "The cosmic scales are tipping towards conflict. We must be prepared." Jake sighed, popping a piece of cosmic fizz into his mouth and savoring the explosion of flavors. "You're right, of course, but I'll be damned if I let a bunch of stuck-up space foodies ruin what we've built." He stood, a determined glint in his eye. "It's time we showed the galaxy that Earth's got more to offer than just sweet treats. Ladies, I think it's time for a little cultural exchange." As Jake outlined his plan, Lyra and Celeste exchanged glances. Their husbands' ideas were often unconventional, sometimes borderline insane, but they had to admit, life had become infinitely more interesting since he'd taken the helm. Little did they know, Jake's next scheme would shake the very foundations of galactic society, and it all hinged on introducing the cosmos to the concept of the potluck dinner party. The stars twinkled outside, bearing witness to the birth of yet another human-inspired innovation. The galaxy, it seemed, wasn't quite ready for the full force of Earth's culinary and cultural creativity. But ready or not, a tsunami of change was coming, and it was bringing a whole lot of ambrosia salad with it. Potluck pandemonium and the Flavor Federation. The grand ballroom of the Starweaver hummed with nervous energy. Alien diplomats from 100 different worlds milled about, their diverse forms creating a living tapestry of cosmic diversity. In the center of it all stood Jake Carter, looking somewhat out of place in his formal Earth attire, a tuxedo jacket paired with comfortable jeans and his trusty cowboy boots. "All right, folks," Jake called out, his voice carrying over the murmur of translated conversations. "Welcome to the first ever intergalactic potluck extravaganza." Lyra and Celeste flanked him, their alien beauty drawing admiring glances from the assembled dignitaries. Lyra's crystals chimed softly as she leaned in to whisper, "Husband, are you certain this potluck concept will work on a galactic scale?" Jake grinned, adjusting his bow tie. "Trust me, ladies, there's nothing in the universe that brings people together quite like sharing a good meal." With a flourish, he unveiled a massive table laden with Earth delicacies, everything from pizza and tacos to sushi and curry. "Now, let's see what culinary delights you've all brought to the party." What followed was perhaps the most chaotic and entertaining diplomatic event in cosmic history. The Zoblaxians presented a dish that changed color every few seconds, while the quantum gourmands offered a meal that existed in multiple states simultaneously. The hive mind of Betelgeuse brought a living, telepathic salad that communicated its own recipe as you ate it. As aliens sampled Earth cuisine for the first time, the reactions were as varied as they were hilarious. The stoic Volpexi ambassadors found themselves involuntarily wagging non-existent tails after tasting ice cream. A group of gaseous beings from the Crab Nebula became temporarily solid after ingesting too much cheese. "Great galaxy," exclaimed Zix4, the once grumpy Zorgax delegate, now sporting a Hawaiian shirt and a lei. "This pineapple pizza is divine. We must have the exclusive rights to distribute it in our sector." Jake chuckled, clapping the reptilian alien on the back. "Easy there, big fella. The whole point of a potluck is sharing, but I'm sure we can work something out." As the night wore on, something remarkable began to happen. Age-old rivalries were set aside as species that had been at war for centuries found common ground over plates of shared cuisine. Trade deals were struck, cultural exchanges were planned, and more than a few interspecies friendships were formed. Celeste's skin rippled with excitement as she approached Jake. "Husband, the cosmic energies are shifting. I believe we may have just altered the course of galactic history." Jake nodded, surveying the scene with pride. Aliens of all shapes and sizes were mingling, laughing, and enthusiastically trading recipes. "You know what, I think you might be right. And we're just getting started." News of the intergalactic potluck extravaganza spread like wildfire across the cosmos. Soon, the celestial concordat found itself flooded with requests for more Earth cuisine, cultural artifacts, and even human entertainment. Jake and his wives worked tirelessly to meet the sudden demand. They established the Flavor Federation, a subsidiary of the Concordate dedicated to spreading Earth's culinary and cultural delights across the galaxies. Alien cooking shows featuring Earth recipes became all the rage. MasterChef, Milky Way Edition, drew record-breaking viewership, especially when contestants had to work with ingredients like durian or ghost peppers. The entertainment industry wasn't far behind. Alien teens went wild for Earth music, with K-pop and reggaeton becoming surprise hits in the furthest reaches of known space. Hollywood blockbusters were remade with all alien casts, leading to some truly bizarre interpretations of Earth classics. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. The Galactic Gourmand Guild, incensed at being upstaged by Earth cuisine, launched a smear campaign claiming that human food was addictive and potentially dangerous to alien physiology. "Preposterous," Jake declared at a press conference, facing a sea of alien journalists. "Our food might be tasty, but it's not some kind of cosmic crack. Besides, have you seen what some of you folks eat? I once met a species that considers antimatter a light snack." The assembled aliens chuckled, but the tension remained. It was clear that the guild wasn't going to back down without a fight. Late one night, as the Starweaver cruised through a picturesque nebula, Jake found himself unable to sleep. He wandered to the ship's kitchen, only to find Lyra and Celeste already there, poring over a holographic display of trade routes and recipe books. "Couldn't sleep either, huh?" Jake asked, sliding onto a stool beside them. Lyra's crystals chimed softly. "We were analyzing the potential long-term effects of Earth cuisine on various alien physiologies. The guild's accusations, while exaggerated, may have some merit." Jake frowned, grabbing a leftover slice of cold pizza. "So what? We just give up? Let those stuck-up space foodies win?" Celeste's skin rippled thoughtfully. "Not necessarily, but perhaps we need to approach this from a different angle. Something that combines the best of Earth and alien cuisines." Jake took a bite of his pizza, chewing thoughtfully. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. "Ladies, I think I've got it. We're going to create the ultimate fusion cuisine, a dish that represents the very best the galaxy has to offer." Lyra and Celeste exchanged glances. They recognized that gleam in their husband's eye. It was the same look he'd had before introducing chocolate to the cosmos or organizing the potluck that changed galactic politics. "And what, pray tell, is this miraculous dish?" Lyra asked, her tone a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Jake grinned, holding up his half-eaten slice of pizza. "We're going to make the biggest, most diverse, most delicious pizza the universe has ever seen. And we're going to do it together, humans and aliens alike." As Jake outlined his audacious plan, Lyra and Celeste found themselves caught up in his enthusiasm. It was crazy, potentially dangerous, and might just violate a few laws of physics. But if anyone could pull it off, it was their unpredictable human husband. Little did they know, this cosmic pizza party would not only save their business empire, but also prevent an interstellar war, discover a new form of faster-than-light travel, and accidentally create a sentient galaxy-spanning fungal network with a taste for pepperoni. But that, as they say, is a story for another solar rotation. As the Starweaver continued its journey through the star-studded cosmos, Jake and his alien wives began preparations for their most ambitious project yet. The galaxy watched with bated breath, wondering what this enigmatic human would come up with next. One thing was certain: life in the cosmos would never be the same again, and it was all thanks to a space trucker with a penchant for comfort food and crazy ideas. The Cosmic Crust Conspiracy. The Starweaver hovered at the edge of a massive asteroid field, its hull gleaming in the light of 3 nearby suns. Inside, the ship buzzed with frenetic energy as beings from 100 different worlds scurried about, preparing for the most ambitious culinary experiment in galactic history. Jake Carter stood at the center of the controlled chaos, barking orders like a seasoned space captain. Easy with those Andromedan fire peppers. And someone tell the quantum yeast to stop existing in multiple states at once. We need it to rise in this dimension. Lyra approached, her crystal adornments tinkling with concern. Husband, the Galactic Gourmand Guild has issued another statement. They're calling our Cosmic Pizza project a threat to the very fabric of spacetime. Jake snorted, adjusting his kiss the cook, or risk interdimensional displacement apron. Sounds like someone's got a case of sour grapes. Or would that be sour nebula clusters? Celeste materialized beside them, her skin rippling with urgent patterns. It's more serious than that, I'm afraid. Our long-range sensors have detected a guild battle fleet approaching. They seem intent on stopping our pizza party by any means necessary. Jake's eyes narrowed. He'd expected opposition, but this was taking things to a whole new level. All right, ladies, looks like we're going to have to accelerate our plans. Tell everyone to double-time it. We're making this pizza now. As the news spread, the already hectic preparations kicked into overdrive. Alien chefs argued over topping placement with the intensity of generals planning battle strategy. Physicists and mystics worked side by side, trying to stabilize the quantum-infused cheese that kept threatening to collapse into a mini black hole. At the heart of it all was the crust, a massive, asteroid-sized base made from a unique blend of Earth wheat and exotic alien grains. As Jake supervised its creation, he couldn't help but feel a twinge of nerves. This wasn't just about making a really big pizza anymore. The fate of his business, his family, and possibly the entire galaxy now rested on this absurdly ambitious project. Quantum tomato sauce, applied and stable, called out a tentacled being from Betelgeuse. Paradox pepperoni in place, shouted a chorus of hive-mind insects. Multidimensional mozzarella, stretchy and ready, reported a gaseous entity from the Crab Nebula. Jake took a deep breath, surveying the massive, floating pizza taking shape before him. All right, folks, this is it. The moment of truth. Let's show the galaxy what we're made of. With a dramatic flourish, he hit the button to activate the cosmic oven, a repurposed solar sail that would use the energy of the 3 nearby suns to bake their creation to perfection. As the pizza began to cook, an alarm blared through the ship. Celeste's skin pulsed with urgent patterns. The Gill fleet has arrived. They're charging weapons. Jake gritted his teeth. They were so close. He turned to his wives, determination blazing in his eyes. Ladies, it's time for some drastic action. Lyra, I need you to modulate our shields to reflect the flavor profile of the pizza. Celeste, calculate a trajectory that'll let us use the asteroid field as cover. As Lyra and Celeste sprang into action, Jake grabbed the ship's comm system. Attention, Guild Fleet. This is Jake Carter of the Celestial Concordat. We are on a mission of peace and deliciousness. Stand down, or prepare to face the cheesiest defeat in cosmic history. The response came in the form of a barrage of energy weapons, barely deflected by the Starweaver's hastily modified shields. All right, Jake muttered, have it your way. What followed was perhaps the strangest space battle ever witnessed. The Starweaver, trailing the scent of garlic and basil, dove and weaved through the asteroid field. Guild ships gave chase, only to find their sensors scrambled by the pizza's aromatic force field. Meanwhile, the cosmic pizza continued to bake, growing larger and more powerful with each passing moment. Strange energies crackled across its surface, and more than one crew member swore they saw faces forming in the melted cheese. Just as it seemed the guild fleet might overwhelm them, a miracle occurred. The pizza, now fully cooked and charged with unimaginable energies, began to move of its own accord. It rolled through space like an edible asteroid, effortlessly absorbing enemy fire and growing larger with each blast. "Great galaxy," Jake breathed, watching in awe as his creation took on a life of its own. "We've done it. We've created the sentient cosmic pizza." The pizza, as if acknowledging its name, let out a sound that was part delicious sizzle, part earth-shattering roar. It turned towards the guild fleet, tendrils of gooey cheese stretching out like solar flares. What happened next would be debated by scholars and physicists for centuries to come. The sentient cosmic pizza engulfed the entire guild fleet, not so much destroying the ships as incorporating them into its ever-expanding mass. From within the cheesy matrix came sounds of surprise, fear, and then delight. "It's delicious," came a transmitted cry from the guild's flagship. "We were fools to oppose this. The flavor, the texture, it's changing everything we thought we knew about cuisine." Jake, Lyra, and Celesta watched in amazement as the former guild fleet emerged from the pizza, their ships now coated in a layer of delicious, shimmering cheese. Gone was their hostile demeanor, replaced by an almost religious fervor for the game-changing cuisine they'd just experienced. As the pizza continued to grow, now large enough to have its own gravitational field, Jake realized they created something far beyond their wildest dreams. This wasn't just a meal, it was a cosmic force for change, a cheesy ambassador of peace and unity. "Well, ladies," Jake said, pulling his wives close, "looks like we've really outdone ourselves this time. Question is, what do we do now?" Lyra's crystals chimed thoughtfully. "Perhaps we let it go. The universe seems to have plans for our creation." Celeste nodded, her skin mirroring the swirling patterns of the pizza's surface. "Indeed, we've given birth to a new cosmic entity. It's time to let it forge its own path." Jake grinned, watching as the sentient cosmic pizza began to drift majestically into the starry expanse, trailing former enemies turned devoted followers in its wake. "You know what? You're absolutely right. Besides," he added with a wink, "I've got an idea for our next project. Ever heard of a little Earth delicacy called all-you-can-eat buffet?" As the Starweaver set off on its next adventure, the legend of the sentient cosmic pizza began to spread across the galaxies. It became a symbol of unity, a testament to the power of culinary diplomacy, and a really, really tasty myth. And somewhere out in the vast cosmic ocean, a cheese-covered guild ship captain took a bite of his new pizza-encrusted control panel and thought to himself, "Best defeat ever." The universe, it seemed, would never be the same. And it was all thanks to a former space trucker, his alien wives, and their unwavering belief in the power of really, really good food.